What's up, everyone? You are listening to Sisters Breaking Cycles, the podcast.
Grab your favorite drink of choice and join us as we have some hard conversations that no one wants to have.
My name is Joanna, aka JoJo, and I am your host.
And I am Jasmine, your co host.
Welcome back, everyone. Nice to be here on episode 3 on this lovely Monday. We are here today to talk about fear. Dun 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 dun.
Yes. Dun, dun, dun.
Uh, Me and my sister have been talking about we want to do things like in series, and one of the series that we thought about would be good for us to start with was what's holding us back, right? Like what's holding you back? And it kind of ties into like our previous episode. If you haven't heard it, go listen to it now, which was revolving around shame and judgment, because those are things that do hold us back. The
Mhm.
shame that we fear, that we feel, or the judgment that what are people going to say, right? But along with that, what stems that? It's the fear that we feel inside. So we're like, all right,
Yes.
we're gonna talk about the fear. And
Hmm.
how do we overcome that feeling that holds us back so much in life? But before we get started in that and dive into that, we want to kind of start our episodes with like a little highlight, something positive that happens to us on a weekly basis, because it's good to like fill your cup with like what is going good, right? That
Yeah.
like gratitude feeling of like sometimes things are going bad, but it's not always like that. There's finding the silver lining and the good in every week. We should,
Yes.
we should do it on a daily basis, but we're going to be sharing our weekly highlight. So I'll go ahead and start. My highlight was being in Utah this past weekend. It was
Ooh.
nice. It was nice to see you. Thank you for your hospitality at your home, Jasmine. It was incredible. I miss my dad so much. So just being out in Utah, hanging out with the family, definitely was like my highlight, and it filled my cup emotionally that I felt was already kind of like being depleted because I hadn't seen you guys since last year around the holidays in December.
Yeah. Hmm.
It was just really nice and really re-energizing to be around you guys. So that was my highlight.
Yes, and I absolutely loved it. Thank you for making the trip out because that is a long drive, but it was really, really fun. And we all enjoyed ourselves and had a great family time.
Yes.
So, my highlight is that this past week, I started teaching my son this song that I found. It's kind of like an affirmation song for body positivity and like body image, and so I really want him to always love himself and his body, no matter what he looks like. So we started singing that today, and this week, and he absolutely enjoyed it so much. He was even like, oh, that made me so happy, and it just like melted my heart away. I'm like, oh.
That's so sweet. Hey, you didn't sing that song with him when I was there. I would have liked to see you guys sing.
Yeah, no, we did it that day. We woke. What time did we wake up? At like 6. I think he was even awake when we left.
Oh, he's such a sweetheart. He melts my heart every time I see him. He's so sweet.
Yeah, he loves you guys. He has so much fun when you guys are here.
Yeah, I already started putting things in his head. I'm like, tell your mom to bring me to California.
Oh, he already wants to go.
I
He's always asking.
Yeah, and he's like, "Am I gonna go on the plane?" I'm like, "Yeah, tell your mom to bring you on the plane so you get there faster and you don't waste time driving."
Yeah,
Just
he
so
loves the plane.
all right, that was nice. That's really nice. That's something positive that we both experienced this past week, and I think that we need to start focusing on the little moments, the spurts of happiness that happen, because things are not always going to go as planned. We're always going to have bad moments, bad days, bad times, bad hours, but there's also good. We just tend to always focus on the bad and not so much the good.
Mhm.
So that's the whole purpose of us doing these little highlights in the beginning. And we encourage all the listeners to think about their highlight. What was the highlight of their week? Or what was the highlight of their day? Start
Mhm.
getting into that mentality, building little habits that are going to make you feel grateful for the good moments. So, diving right in, we're going to talk about fear today. What's your
Yes.
input on fear, sister?
Fear. My goodness. I feel like fear is, like you mentioned in the beginning, what stems all these other maybe emotions that we go through, like shame and judgment and embarrassment, like all these other things, like fear, I feel like encompasses all of that. And it's just like this really big thing to tackle. But I do feel like it is what holds us back from becoming our best selves. What holds us back from, you know, taking the next step that we need to take in our journey. Something that's said a lot, well, that I hear a lot in like the wellness spiritual community is like, if you're fearing it intensely, that means that's where you have to go because that fear is going to push you through to the next level of understanding yourself. And I can definitely say that that was the case for me. For
Mhm.
me, as ever since moving to Utah, I've been like, I want to leave Utah. I didn't want to come here in the first place.
Yeah.
So I've always said that I wanted to move out of Cedar, where we initially moved to. And finally, I got the guts to do it because I was always scared. And I moved, I didn't move out of Utah, not there yet, probably sometime soon, but I did move to St. George. And one thing that I realized is that the fear that I had of being away from everybody, being alone, the fear of like not believing in myself that I can actually manage my money and my life on my own, all those things were holding me back from doing it. And I remember last year, I just got really just to a point where I'm like, I need to move. This city is small. There's no growth. There's no opportunity. I need to get out of here, go somewhere else, and find new things to explore. I had already done everything in Cedar, and I set myself to move, and it happened, and it all happened so fast, and it all happened in like now that I look back at it, it was like this crazy time. It kind of felt like a little bit of chaos for, I would say, maybe like 2 or 3 months. Like, it felt very chaotic, and I was always very, like, in this constant state of fear, like, "Oh my gosh, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna go through. Like, something bad is going to happen." Like, I got approved for the apartment, but then they're gonna go back for some dumb reason that probably was never gonna come out of it, but those were the stories that I was telling myself, causing myself a lot of fear. Like I was constantly in this state of fear that things were not going to work out. And everything around me was just happening so fast. The move, getting people together to help, the job transitions, like all this stuff. Because moving here, I also had to get a new job because I did not want to commute. That was not a thing I was interested in. So, yeah, but now I'm here almost about to be a year in July, and I have absolutely learned so much about myself. Like I'm just like, wow, I this was overdue. I waited way too long to do this.
I love that. I love that the way you say that, and I love the way you really present it because that's the reality of it. The reality
Mhm.
of it. I still remember when I called you and I was like, "So how was your move?" And you were like, "Sister, there was a thunderstorm in the middle of me moving
Yeah.
and my apartment flooded." I'm like, "What?
Yeah.
You just moved in there. Like, what do you mean your apartment
Yeah.
flooded?" You were like, "Yeah, all of my bed, everything was caught in the thunderstorm. It was like, you know, for me, hearing that from you, I was like, "Oh my god, like, this is devastating," like,
Yeah.
and that just amplifies your fear.
Mm.
"What? Like, what do you mean?" Like, and you have a much more positive outlook in life than I do, and you're a
Mhm.
little bit much calmer about it. Because if that would've been me, I'm like, "That's it. It's ruined. My life is over. Like, I need a new bed. I need everything brand new. I can't afford everything brand new." And you were
Mhm.
calm about it. You were like, "I'm gonna let it air dry out. I'm gonna call the building. It's I mean, I'm renting from them. They're gonna have to clean out the carpet, check for mold." And although you were, like, stressed about it because you were in the process of moving, just going in, and it's like now you have a pool in your living room,
Yeah, literally.
you still managed to, like, maneuver that in a way where it was just very graceful, and at the end of the day, you didn't have to get new furniture. Everything ended up drying up and, like, being good condition for you to still continue to use it. Your
Yeah.
apartment, they did a whole revamp to it, which was
Mhm.
great because if it was already kinda clean, they had to do a deep clean now, which is a
Mhm.
plus and a bonus for you, right? So, I'm just like, yeah, like, you really did that on your own, and you were
Yeah.
just like, I mean, there's gonna be punches, there's gonna be ups and downs, and I'm just gonna ride the wave, and that's exactly what you did.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. And at times that wave is really high and very scary because you're like, if I fall off of here, that's it. That's the end.
yeah,
So, yeah, it's like, you know, I have this outward calmness or presence, but sometimes within it's just intense emotion. And before, I remember we used to say this before. I don't know if you remember how we used to say this, like to each other. We're like, do it with the fear. You know, no, we used to say, overcome the fear. You got to overcome the fear and then do it, right? But it's really hard to overcome fear. It's a really intense emotion. It takes control of you, of your body, of your thoughts. So now, what do we say? We say, do it with the fear
mhm,
because that fear is going to be there with you. But if you just keep going, it's still going to take you out to the other side,
yeah,
you know?
it's just the mind is so powerful. The mind
Yes.
is so, so powerful, and I think it also has to do the way that we were brought up, right?
Mhm. Oh,
Because
yes.
the way
Absolutely.
the way you're brought up, like, children are not born with fear. They learn fear. They learn this behavior. They learn what to be shy about. They learn what to be scared about.
Hmm.
And I mean, and this isn't just in the Latino population because I know there's a lot as we talk to different like people from different walks of life, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, like Armenians are the same way." Like, "Oh yeah, you know, different people from different cultures have similar things that they instill fear in their children when they're young. It's just everyone has a
Yes.
different type of fear they want to instill." And
Hmm.
as Latinos, I feel like one of the things that they always keep you is like they want to keep the family tight. Like you can't leave the nest. This is where you
Yeah.
are. And it's like if you leave, or even like I working in education, like there's a lot of students that are like, "Oh, I would like to go to," I'm like, "Are you going to go to a college out of state, out of the country? Do you want to stay local?" And they're like, "Oh no, my parents won't let me go out of the state." And I'm like, what? Like, this is a great opportunity. If financial aid
Hmm.
pays for it and you're able to go study at a different state and get an experience, a full ride, why not? But it's culturally, like you start
Yeah.
putting this fear in your students of like, you're not gonna make it on your own, or into your kids, not students. Like you're not gonna make it on your own. Like life is hard, which it is. Life is
Hmm.
hella hard. And you know more than anyone,
Yeah.
like being on your own with your child, making this drastic move, it's not easy, and there's gonna be a lot of crying and a lot of frustrating days,
Yes.
100%.
Hmm.
But at the same time, that's how you grow, that's how you expand, that's how you learn, and
Hmm.
the younger you do it in your life, the more equipped you are in your later life.
Yes.
When you don't start practicing that early on and start really grounding yourself and kinda diving through your fears, as you get older, it only gets worse.
Hmm.
Worse. The fear, the level of fear, it gets higher and higher, and if you never practiced that skill when you were younger, you're gonna have a hard time as you get older.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Like the the emotion just gets like more and more intense. And I think it's because of what you said, because we get into our heads, right?
Yeah.
We have this response. We have a bodily response of fear. In cases, obviously, way back in the day, it was for survival purposes,
Yeah.
right? But we are no longer living in the wild. Well, I am, but not like before. So now we get the bodily response of fear, and then we take it to the next level with our head,
Hmm.
and we like just sit there in this cycle where like everything's gonna go wrong. Like I can't do this because everything's gonna go wrong. I can't move because I'm not gonna have my support system. I can't move because my parents are need me. I can't move because everyone I have that I know and love are here. We give ourselves all these reasons, which makes that emotion bigger and scarier the more and more we carry it with us.
We amplify it with
Yeah.
more reasonings that we find to say why whatever it is that we want to do is not going to work out. We amplify it louder
Yes.
and louder, right? And that's with anything. That's like even with our jobs, like
Hmm.
with our partners, with our, friendships. Like that's with anything. Like when you start building fear around something, and if you don't start releasing that fear and like speaking it out into existence and trying to overcome it, it just gets deeper and deeper and it starts getting more amplified. And the
Hmm.
fear eventually takes over to the point where it kind of like handicaps you,
Yes. Yes.
you know? And
It
it's
does.
pretty sad. So
Yeah.
yeah,
A prime example of that is mom.
yeah,
Mom doesn't drive because
yeah.
she is like absolutely terrified of it. Like, I mean, absolutely terrified. Like, she will go into like a straight on panic attack.
Yeah, that's true. That's really
Hmm.
true. She's scared. She tried learning when she was young,
Hmm.
and my dad wasn't the greatest teacher and
Yeah.
yell at her and scold her when she would do like a mistake or didn't maneuver the vehicle the way he wanted her to. And it shut her down. Like it shut her
Hmm.
down where she's like, I just don't want to learn it. Now that you mention that, I can't swim.
Oh yeah,
I
huh?
can't swim.
Yeah.
It's like
Mhm.
literally my mom, but I can't swim. She can't drive, I can't swim.
Mhm.
And my dad swims like a fish. He taught you and Michael how to swim. So both of you guys,
Yes.
at least you guys know how to float and swim in like pools and stuff, right? But for
Yeah.
but for me, and for me, it goes back to like when we were at that river and my uncle threw me into the river and like said, "Oh, you're gonna learn." And I'm like, no, I'm not." So
Yeah.
literally like the fear of me swimming is so bad that I block myself from being able to relax. Everyone
Mhm.
always tells me, relax, just relax in the water. If you relax, your body's naturally going to float. And I always tell everyone, I sink like an anchor. You're anchoring. That is the moment I get in water, which is funny because I love the water. Like,
Mhm.
give me a life jacket out. I've been snorkeling in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. In the middle of the, yep.
Right? I like throw me like I go to Havasu, it's like you see me jump out of the freaking boats, like I don't care. Like I love water. As long as I have a safety jacket and I feel like I'm safe and I'm not gonna drown, I'll do water
Mhm.
activities. If I had a pool in the backyard, I would be in the pool all the time. Right?
Mhm.
Like I'm fascinated with water. I'm an Aquarius. I'm a water sign.
Oh, yeah.
But I can't swim. And the past 3 years I've been saying every summer, I'm gonna learn to swim. I'm gonna learn to swim. And little by little, I've started to feel a little bit more comfortable, but I still have the fear. I haven't let
Mhm.
go of the fear. So even though I could swim from one side of a pool to the other, like I could propel, I'm doing it in a state of panic. It's not
Yeah.
a natural state. I'm not relaxed.
Mhm.
So if I need to jump in or dive to save someone, hell no. I wouldn't be able to because
Mhm.
I don't know how to relax. That's my problem in the
Yeah.
water. I freak out if I don't have if I don't feel like I have some sort of protection.
Yeah.
Work on
You
that. I
get
really need to work on that. My
yeah.
goal I'm gonna say it on the podcast. I'm gonna say it on the podcast. It's going down. I need to learn how to swim. I need that as like I'm doing all this self work on myself and just really like self love. I really do feel like I'm gonna accomplish it. I just baby steps. It's taking me longer than I would like, but that's one of my goals. I need to learn how to swim. I need to learn how to just let go and just trust that I'm
Mhm.
gonna be okay. Because that's my fear. I don't trust. I feel like the water's gonna swallow me in.
Mhm, yeah.
So yeah, I need to
Yeah,
work
but you see, it all goes to your head, right? Is what you're
Yes,
thinking is gonna happen. You're like, "Oh, the water's gonna swallow me in." I was like, "Well, you're already in the water, like, you can't do more than that."
exactly. It's all here.
Yeah.
It reminds me, there's like this little meme that I see every like around the summertime where there's like a little kid that's holding onto a rope that's in the pool and he's like, I'm drowning, I'm drowning.
Oh, yeah.
And then someone's like, just stand up. Like
Yeah.
stand up. You're in the shallow. But they're like, I'm drowning. Like that's
Mhm.
literally what I think of. The moment that I'm like
Mhm.
in deep water, I'm like, oh my God. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna be able to float. I'm not gonna be able to, like, move myself to safety. Like, I get into panic, and the panic is what avoids me from learning. But it's because
Yes.
I haven't taken care of the fear that stems it. So that
Mhm.
fear is amplified, and I get into panic, and it's like it shuts me down. I can't do it.
Mhm.
But Imma do
Yeah.
it. Imma do it. That's part of my
Get it.
that's part of my self-healing. I said it. Imma do it. I am gonna learn how to swim.
Yes. Write it down. Write it down on your goals.
Yeah.
Learn
Write
to
down the goals.
swim. Yes.
Not gonna set a date because I'm scared still, but Imma do it. Imma do it. I'm
Yeah.
updating it. By the end of the year, I'm gonna have a different update of how my swimming skills have either improved or my fear has gotten higher.
Worse. To be one or the other.
One or the other, but I will be honest because I mean, it is what it is. It's a reality. If we're not honest with it and if we don't try to fix it, it's gonna stay the same way forever if we let
Yeah.
it go that far, right? Um
Yes.
What
Exactly.
about, let's see, one thing you shared the experience about fear, about you moving, which is huge. I think I have tons of fears.
Yeah.
I'm such a chicken, and you know this.
Yeah.
I fear everything. I, but see, again, a lot of it comes from my upbringing as being the first child, and then our brother being born with disabilities, where my parents had to put a lot of attention into him when I was literally not even a year old or like a year
Mhm.
and a half.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like I got that safety net from mom and dad. I don't
Mhm.
feel, and this might get me emotional, so Imma try not to talk too much about it because it really stems like in my heart. But I have abandonment issues. I have
Mhm.
issues of like not feeling loved, not feeling, and they showed me love as I got older. I remember a glimpse of my childhood, like, where they did show me love, but there was a very big portion of also neglect where I didn't feel like my needs were being met, and I feel like that's where a lot of my fears stem from. I don't
Mhm.
feel safe, I don't feel protected, and
Mhm.
I don't feel, it's almost like I don't feel like I belong. I
Mhm.
never felt that sense of belonging. Which probably also explains me as an adult right now, the disconnect that I have to our parents.
Mhm.
I'm not as connected to them the way you and Michael are, which are the younger ones,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard to really like go dive deep into it, but there's something that roots from there that really makes me have a lot of fear. Kind of like I
Mhm.
shared in the last episode too about like not being able to listen to music and feeling shame. Like I felt
Yeah.
like growing up, there were so many things that I was like, oh my God, I'm scared. Oh my God, I'm fear. Oh my God, I'm not protected. I'm not safe. That all of that has really screwed me up as an adult.
Yes.
It really has messed with me, and I'm really trying to fix it because the last thing I wanna do is, like, pass these traumas and pass these, like, fears into another person, another human being if
Mhm.
I have a child, you know? So
Yeah, or and also, like, live with them your entire life, like, you don't
yeah,
want to you're still young, You don't want to get into like your 60s, 70s and be like, I'm so scared of all of this, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, hell no. Hell to the no. That is not the plan. Like, no. Like, there's a reason why I'm doing so much work. Like, no, that's not the plan.
Yeah.
Um,
And with that, to kind of build on that a little bit, the fears that you're having are coming from, much deeper rooted feelings of, unsafety in things like that. Those, like when you're feeling unsafe, those are very, very, how do you say, like powerful feelings. Like I think safety is number one priority for every human being ever. Like we need to feel safe. If that's our foundation
mhm.
as human beings, we need to feel safe with ourselves and in our communities. We can't grow, we can't take the next step, we can't really level up if we don't feel safe.
100%. And I think
Mhm,
that's why I've struggled so much because I don't feel that safe. I don't feel grounded. I don't feel that security, but that's because
mhm.
I never really did growing up. So it's just I don't know. It's really sad. Like the way I think about it now, I'm like, whoa, I'm like, I really am screwed up, yo. Like I really am. Like, what the hell? Like, what happened? Like,
Yeah, I think a
but
lot of people are, especially, with what your background is, like first generation American,
mhm,
first child,
mhm.
like those I think are very common things for people who are probably in the same position as you, especially because, maybe traditions and stuff, I don't want to bash,
Don't even
huh?
get me started with traditions, sister, because I siempre feel como que no soy ni de aquí ni de allá, like ni de para allá.
Yeah.
Like 100,
Yeah.
like I feel more Mexican cultured than I am Salvadorian cultured. Like
Mm.
that's another thing. Like I don't belong. Like I don't feel like I belong in the Salvadorian culture because I didn't grow up Salvadorian. Like
Mhm.
wait, my parents growing up, they would eat all the Mexican food. We were around the babysitters Mexican. Like everything other than our parents was Mexican culture.
Yes.
So as I get older and sometimes when we're around our Salvadorian family, it really like makes me feel like, what the hell? Like I feel like I'm like a piece that doesn't fit. But it's
Mhm.
because I wasn't immersed into the culture.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
there's so many different missing pieces in my life that I'm kind of like, oh man, like this is
Yeah, it really
wow.
contributes to this like kind of scatteredness, within yourself, right? Yeah,
Yes.
it's and to come to terms to with all that and acknowledge and realize all of that is also a big shock.
Mhm.
So I feel like a lot of people can relate to you in that position. Like, first generation American, oldest daughter or son, kind of having to navigate their way through, I know with you, because I know I still had a little bit of this too when we moved to Utah, then I became the interpreter for our parents.
Oh
But
yeah.
you had to do that, when we were living in California. So that's another thing, for children of parents who don't speak the language and they have to sit there and interpret official documentation. That is intimidating
Yeah.
for, an 8-year old, a 10-year old, and all these, other things that you have to doctor visits, some parent teacher conferences, like all these things that you have to go through. You kind of have to set aside your childness, like your child self, and step into an adult role before you're even ready for it.
Mhm. And don't have the proper skill set or the proper processing of the
Yeah.
material that you're supposed to know what you're
Yeah.
talking about, you know? So yeah, definitely. Fear is fear is the mother of all evil. That's what I say. It will cripple you. It will freaking cripple you.
It
Uh,
will, yeah. And then another thing I feel like, and I feel like this is with both of us, I still get a lot of this too because this is kind of like out of my comfort zone. But when we decided to like actually launch a podcast,
yeah,
you know,
that's actually yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit. So for me, I've always wanted to be like a blogger. I remember, and some of my friends listening to this, they're gonna be like, "Yup, yup,
yeah.
that's what she would talk about all the time." I remember back in the MySpace days, after MySpace, when like Facebook kind of started blowing up, I remember I was like, I want to do like a blogger because back then there wasn't like Instagram influencers and everything was
Mm-mm.
on the gram. It was like you created your domain, you created your blogging page, people will go to your page and
Yeah.
like they would have to follow your link or whatever, and you put pictures and whatever, right? Kind of like that
Hmm.
LTK that a lot of influencers are doing now, that it's like a separate page where you go and you get all the different information. It was like that. That was like what was in the blogging. And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "I really wanna do that." But that part of me is because I've always liked to share about myself. I've always liked to share my experiences. Wherever I'm at, I'm always trying to post pictures. And wherever
Yeah.
I'm doing videos. I love to share. What
Yeah.
was
Even before the blog thing, I remember that you would fill up. Do you remember those disposable cameras? You would fill up
yeah,
roll after roll after roll after
which
roll,
I don't
and
even
then
know
we'd go like
I don't know where the
develop
pictures
them.
are. I did so much. I don't even know where they are. I think when in the process of moving, you guys moving and everything, like, I have no idea where those are.
Oh, I'm
But
so
I've always wanted
sad.
to capture things all the time. I always
Mhm.
wanna capture the moment, I always wanna talk about the moment, I always wanna share the moment, and why
Yeah.
didn't I do the blogging? Because I was scared. I was fearful. I was like, "Nah, I'm not I people are not gonna wanna follow. Like, people are not gonna wanna know about my life, like, nah." So I was
Mhm.
hesitant. I was hesitant, and I didn't do it. When Facebook kinda started blowing up, I was very active on Facebook too. I would always, like, talk and stuff, but then I never felt comfortable enough to open a public page. All my pages were
Mhm.
always private, and I never felt comfortable to go public because 'cause I'm like, "What are people gonna say? Other people are gonna talk about it," like and
Mhm.
I was so scared about it, right? And it isn't until now that I'm an adult that I'm just like, "No, this is what I like to do. I've always wanted to do this, and I've never taken the step in the right direction to be able to do this." Now, do I believe I'm gonna become an overnight sensation? I don't know, probably not, because there's so many other influencers now out there that are, like, being blown up. That's kind of, like, why I started my new page because I have my private page which has the most following, which isn't that much, and I share things about family, just family, friends, relationship, and that's, like, personal, like, only people that know me and follow me and I authorize you to be my friend could see
Mhm.
those moments. They're a little bit more intimate. But then I started the new page on Instagram, the which is this is 30 and up. And the reason why I did that page is because that's when I started struggling a little bit with like depression and like anxiety, like right around last year in October, November.
Mhm.
And I was like, these are real topics. Like, I wish people would talk about these things. Like, I wish people would be more open about it and not just post the positive things on social media because it's not all
Mhm.
about that, right?
Mm.
There's ugly, there's good. Post your messy house and then your clean house because that's the reality of things.
Yes.
And that's when I was like, "You know what? I've always wanted to do this." Like, I've always wanted to do it, and I did. I opened up this page, it's a public page, anyone could see that page. I don't have a great following, but I just started it. I started the page in November, and
Mhm.
most of the people that are following me know me from personal at a personal level, and they just started following my new page because I do different content there. I don't do the same content that's very family focused. I do more like outings when I go to eat or like things around the house or meal prepping or different habits that I'm trying to establish, working out. I'm talking more openly just with whoever wants to like tune in and listen to my little reels that I do or look at my pictures. So and it makes me happy. Like, even though I don't get a lot of likes or I don't get a lot of, like, followers, it makes me happy posting on that page. It
Mhm.
fills my cup, and I feel like that's what I had been holding back for so much time because I was afraid, fear. The
Yeah.
fear of not being like the fear of people talking about me. People are gonna talk about me no matter what.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
let them talk about me, whether it's good or bad, but at least it's filling up my cup. And
Yes, it's making you happy, you know?
exactly, it does make me happy. And that's and then I was like, okay, this is good, but it wasn't as rewarding. Like, even though I was posting and kind of I don't post as much as I should, but that's because I also have a full-time job. So now
Mhm.
I understand when people say like, "Oh, they're full-time content creators." Like, I understand that
Yeah,
because
it takes up all your time.
it takes a lot of work and editing and cutting
Yeah.
and it's hard. It's not easy. Like, people make it seem like, "Oh, content creators, like, they don't work." Like, it's like they're whatever. And I'm like, "Nah, bro. It's a lot of work for your entertainment," because that's what it is.
Mhm.
Being a
Yes.
content creator is entertainment for other people that they're looking at it, and if they could relate to it, they're gonna follow you. They're gonna like
Mhm.
your stuff, share your stuff. But and that's when me and you would, like, really start talking a lot, and we would be on the phone for hours, and we would
Yeah.
have real serious conversations, and I'm just like, "We should do a podcast." I was like, "We should do a podcast." I'm like, "We love to talk. We talk for hours." It's kinda like that yin and yang because we have different experiences. They're never really the same. You bring something different to the table than I do.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm very like, "Ah," and you're very like, "Ah," right? But
Mhm. Yeah.
it's a good balance. And I'm just like, you know and it's funny because for a long time, I would always tell my friends, "I'm gonna start a blog. I'm gonna start my own page." And I would start pages and I would never actually, like, be active in them. And with this, it was different. With the podcast, I didn't really tell a lot of people about the podcast. I didn't
Mhm.
tell people that I wanted to do one. I didn't like, I would talk about it here and there, but I wouldn't really, like, brag about it
Mhm.
because I'm like, I wanna just enjoy it and keep it to ourselves and just start developing it, right? Because the last thing I want is for people to be like, "You're just talk. You talk about this all the time, and you
Mhm.
never make it happen." So I did
Mhm.
less talking, and that's when me and you started doing more planning, and we're like, "If we're gonna be serious about this, let's run with it. Let's do it."
Yeah, yeah. We say, I mean, you've said this a couple times before, like, we say it's our hobby, but this has taken a lot of planning, a lot of
Yeah,
learning, a
yeah,
lot of setbacks, just unexpectedly. But I feel like we have learned so much,
yeah.
so much about, ourselves and having that dedication. Yeah, I remember when you're like, let's do a podcast. I'm like, okay, let's do it. I was feeling all confident and stuff because I'm like, well, I just moved, so I could do anything.
Yeah, I remember that's one of the things that I caught you at the right time because
Yeah.
when I told you about it, you were like, "Well, I mean, I'm here by myself most of the time. I have on these days, I don't have, Mateus, so I'm home alone. I have time." And I'm like, "All right, let's do it." And at first, I thought you were gonna tell me no. Like, realistically, I thought you were gonna tell me no because you tend to be a little bit more timid and
Yeah.
you tend to not really want to really open up as much as I would, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
I was like, "She's not gonna want to do it. She's not gonna want to do it." And then when you said yes, I was like, "Sold. We're doing it." Como que me diste alas. You were just like,
Yeah,
"Let's do it," and I'm like, "Let's do it."
let's
I was
do
like,
it.
"It might not be perfect in the beginning, but let's run with it. Let's see where it takes us." And as we're going, we're gonna be learning and improving and getting better, but it was just kind of pushing through that fear to do it.
Yeah. Mhm.
And and here we are. So I
Yes.
I just feel like we need to get better at really following our passions and really following what really sparks that smile out of us. Like, "Mm,
Yes,
this
exactly.
is
Yes, your desires, what you desire it for a reason.
yeah,
You desire it for a reason. Whether it's like a huge dream, like I want to become a rock star, or whether it's something as small as like, oh, I want to get, a car this year and pay it in full. Like it doesn't matter. Whatever your desire is, that is part of your journey. They're there for a reason. It's kind of, I feel like sometimes you can kind of see it as a guide. This desire is going to guide you ultimately to where you really want to be.
Yeah, agree. If it doesn't scare you, it's not big enough.
Yes, you ain't dreaming big enough.
There has to be a little bit of fear holding you back because that's when it's like, oh, it's gonna be a big one when I do it.
Yes, exactly. That's going to bring in, this change or propel you forward in the right direction.
Yeah. So moral of the story here is try to identify your fears. Try to pay attention to what is triggering those fears and just freaking ram them right in the face. Like, just ram 'em,
Yes.
like, you have to really do the work. It's all about doing the work, though. It just doesn't come easy because things are easier said than done. I'm saying right
Yes.
now, like, something that terrifies me, which is, like, swimming, and I'm like, I have to do it. You have
Mhm.
to believe that you could do it and just go for it, and it's not gonna be perfect the first time, especially if it's something that has been instilled since you were younger and it's like just getting bigger and bigger
Mhm.
and bigger. It's not going to be easy. You're not going to just be able to just wake up and be like, just because I said I'm going to do it and then just magically do it. Some people can. Some people could just do stuff cold turkey and it's like, boom, they're doing it.
Yeah.
But for
Mhm.
other people, it's going to take a time. It's a process. And that's also okay. You're moving in the right direction to be able to overcome that, which is what ultimately that's what you want. That is
Mhm.
the ultimate desire at the end, overcoming your fear and doing something that you've been hesitant to do because of the fear that you were feeling behind it.
Mhm. Yes. Yes, exactly. Beautifully said, sister. Beautifully said.
Mhm. Well, that's all I got on fear today. Do you have anything else on fear you want to share?
Well, I was just thinking about it when you were just saying what you said. Sometimes you have to do things alone. Sometimes, so you will have to be okay with that as well. Being having that fear of being alone and doing it alone. But other times, you can get your people to help you. Through your support system. So I think for me, I can say throughout my life, I've had a very good support system. I've had you, my parents, my brothers, my, long term friends that have always been very, very supportive of me, even when I'm making the wrong choice. I still get full support. So it's okay to lean on your support system when it feels a little too scary. It's okay to, ask them to be there for you, to ask for help.
That's a big one right there. Ooh,
Mhm.
you just nailed it. You said asking for help more
Yeah.
often, more often than not. That's that's very difficult to do, to ask for help
Yes.
when you need the help,
Mhm.
especially if you were raised to be an independent, I don't need nobody's help type of person.
Mhm. Yes.
That right there, my friend, is the hardest thing for some people to do, ask for the help when they need it.
Yes,
But
it is.
it's there, it's available, right? People just really
Mhm.
have to get it from the right people because you can
Yes.
have a big support system, but there's always a few hands that are gonna really genuinely be there for you and
Mhm.
help you throughout the path of what you're trying to do. Not everyone that's cheering you on is necessarily like having the best interests for you. So
Oh,
you
yes.
have to kind of be careful with that too, because
Yeah.
sometimes you might be hoping to receive the help from someone that you're actually not going to get from.
Yes, yes. So yeah, discerning, well, like people who are rooting for you versus people who are going to be there for you, right? When these
Okay,
fears come up, when these
you said it.
fears, yes. So you have to that's a practice as well, because sometimes we don't know the difference until we're in a bad situation and we're like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, now I can see who's actually going to be there for me and who's actually just cheering me on.
Yeah,
So that's a good practice to do as well is, during those tough times when you're in this fear, when you're doing these things with fear or wanting some help through whatever it is you desire and want to overcome, is seeing who's going to be there for you in person, on the phone, online, however, that might be while you're going through those things.
yep. I agree with everything you just said.
Thank you.
Well, everyone, this is your sign to face your fears
Yes.
and to learn what's triggering them and just be the best version of yourself. Because at the end of the day, we just have to be the best version of ourselves. We're not competing with anyone. We are just trying to be better than who we were yesterday. And
Mhm.
it's very important that we stop holding ourselves back from being truly who we really want to be due to fear.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
All
So
right.
from
Remember, oh, you were going to say something. I cut you off.
and I was just gonna say from now on, do it with the fear.
Yeah. Do it with ride that wave. You got to ride the wave. Here I am talking about riding the wave, but I can't swim.
Yeah, you're not getting in the wave.
It's all good though. It's all good. That's the goal right there. Man, when I hit that milestone, we're gonna celebrate. We're gonna celebrate with everybody. We're gonna
Yes.
meet somewhere and be like, "She could swim. Let's take her to a pool."
Just go in the river, to the lake.
And I don't know about the river. That's a little advanced. Well, we find something. We find
Yeah.
something shallow that I feel comfortable in.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, that was episode 3. If you haven't listened to episode 2, I highly encourage you to go listen to it as well. Share our podcast if you like it and if you find it informative and entertaining and like you're able to connect with us. Share it with people that you know might have that same experience that you're having. And yeah, follow us on all of our social media handles. We still haven't necessarily um, added too much to them, but it's in the making. Baby steps. Like my sister said, like this has taken a lot of work, and we're still working hard on a weekly basis. So yeah, we're excited to continue this journey and see how far we get.
Mhm.
All right, everyone. Bye.
Bye.